Hatcher. Please state your name and address.
My name is Alan Musker, and our address is 704 10th Street. Good morning, City Council.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As I look at you, I see a City Council that represents the citizens of Orange. I appreciate the Council's work and listening to the citizens about the growth, the environment.
Mister, put the mic right up to your mouth. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, wonderful.
You want to start over?
You can get a start over.
Okay. Good morning, City Council.
Good
Good morning.
As I look at you, I see a City Council that represents the citizens of Orange. I appreciate the Council for listening to the citizens about the growth, the environment, and the taxation here in Orange. I appreciate your time, the energy, and efforts making Orange a better place. I see a group of leaders, much like the council members of Beaumont. What I don't see is a member of Beaumont City Council here to speak negatively about Beaumont. In fact, I don't see any leader from neighboring cities here to disparage their own city or fellow leaders. That's because that would probably be considered tactless and at least backstabbing the worst. To travel to a neighboring public forum to put down a city that you supposedly love and serve is kind of two-faced. Ms. Purnell, Beaumont has a wide variety of real estate available. An orange market is happening right now, and I'm sure your house would sell quickly so you can make your way to Beaumont. And I'm sure there is a real leader and servant that would fill your position quite easily. So in my layman terms, if you don't like being in here on the city council or the city of Orange, just pack your pencil box and resign. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have Mr. Roland Buckner.
I have Roland Buckner, 1404 Cherry Avenue. Two things I wanted to say. One, that I asked that the city consider what it might take to get the natatorium open at some point in the coming year. And two, the highway as you go up 16th and go towards Beaumont, they're doing all that construction, and this light rain comes in, and a lot of the trucks are tracking mud onto the street. And every time I turn on that road, there's always people going real fast, ready to come around past me and everything. And I think that mud on the street is slick. And maybe somebody say something to the contractor about getting that cleaned up to,
Okay.
stop a car from sliding out of control before it happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the name of that road again?
I guess it's the access road on the interstate. It's where they're building that big.
Butcher Drive.
Oh, okay, okay,
The access road right there in front of like where Tractor Supply is.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
I think it's
It
Lutcher,
narrows
I think it's
down.
Lutcher
People-
Avenue.
Well, right as you turn onto the road, then it narrows down into a single lane. So if you're not going as fast as everybody else, they want to pass you real fast. And I think it's a hazard because the trucks are tracking mud on there. And if it gets a little wet and they come around you real fast, something bad could happen.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Mr. Bob Baptista. Hope I said it right. I'm sorry.
Bob Baptista, good morning,
Baptista,
City
all right.
Council members.
Good morning.
I live in the Chase Ridge section of town. As Brad Childs knows, other council members know, the west end of Chase Ridge was hit hard, flooded badly by Hurricane Harvey. Probably 70% of the homes were severely damaged by that flood. And with the help of a consultant, we identified the root cause of the problem as insufficient culverts at Meeks Drive and also at Martin Luther King Drive for two of the main ditches that service our neighborhood. And the residents are very happy to see a project being developed by the City of Orange to expand those culverts and hopefully submit those projects for a grant application to FEMA. And we think they're critically important, not just for the current situation, but new residential development is occurring just north of the Chase Ridge ditch, indicating even more need for better system drainage in that area. So I know I saw it on the agenda today that there's discussion of mitigation projects for grants and so forth, including the Chase Ridge Culverts Expansion Project, and I really encourage the City Council to approve that project and forward it to the state FEMA authorities for approval. I spoke to Dave Phelan about this project in April. He said he would approve it. He would certainly help this project get approximately $1 billion in FEMA funding. The second topic I'd like to talk about is one that I presented along with my friend and White Oak resident Tommy Clary to the county commissioners last week. We gave them a lengthy report, of which I recently gave to Brad Childs for dissemination amongst the council members, comparing the design of the Lutcher Drive service road bridges, which, as you know, have caused a lot of misery for Orange homeowners, residents, and even 2 motorists have drowned in there in a flooded turnaround over the years. It really needs to be removed and replaced. All of you probably noticed too, those of you that travel on I-10, that the old ramp to I-10 West in front of the hotels is gone. The new ramp is far west of the Adams Bayou crossing. And we can't leave a recurring flood situation in the path of the emergency exit of town during a hurricane, or to get an ambulance out in that area without replacing those bridges. So we know the City Council and also the County Commissioners issued a resolution to TxDOT in March and April to replace those bridges. TxDOT has been absolutely sitting on this since they received those. They're throwing every excuse to defend the design of those 40-year bridges possible. Even last week, when Judge Crook sent a letter to Dave Phelan's office, a staffer immediately contacted TxDOT. They came up with a new excuse. I hadn't heard of this before. During Harvey, we were apparently flooded by high tides. High tides. You know, usually you see the water and the debris rushing down south toward the bridge towards the ocean, but now I guess it's like the Bay of Fundy, 40-foot high tide. It's just inexplicable why they're defending these hazardous bridges that have caused millions of dollars of damage to the town and are a blotch on our record to try to attract new economic development to town, when even FEMA has recognized this is a recurring problem that the city, the state, the county need to address. They clearly state in their 2015 report for this area that the Lutcher Drive bridges are a recurring flooding problem and mitigation is needed to remove the pinch point bridges. So I ask you to take a close look at the report that Tommy Clare and I issued about the design of these bridges. All they need to do is replace the bridges with a design similar to Cow Bayou bridges, high elevation over the channel, no pilings in the water to catch debris, and we won't see this flooding again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Bob.
you.
Thanks for helping us out and keeping an eye on us.
Okay, next we have Beverly Hatcher.
I'm a little shorter. Good morning.
Good morning.
To you, the Honorable City Council, to the Mayor, to Sean Obrey, who I remember fondly with the 100 Club of Southeast Texas, but most importantly to the Honorable Annette Purnell, who is the primary person that has invited me. My name is Beverly Hatcher. I'm president of the Golden Triangle Minority Business Council and have been blessed to be there for 29 years. We educate, develop, and promote all small businesses all along the Gulf Coast, including into Calcasieu Parish. And so when I was called upon about 3 weeks ago to be able to reach out and touch small businesses that everyone in this room, especially you, Mayor, and City Council know, our small businesses were really hurt and damaged during Hurricane Harvey. Some of them have been able to cripple along but there is an initiative called the Texas Small Business Rebuild, and it is being promoted by an entity called Lift Fund. Lift Fund is headquartered in Texas, and they are a nonprofit loan agency that has monies working with the governor's office and other entities across Texas to try and get those funds out to small businesses that were injured and damaged. I looked at what I could give you in the form of a handout, and that's this colorful handout that you have in front of you. I thought about this because the very first word that pops out is called partnership, and that's what I'm here to talk about, partnership and collaboration. Your small businesses in the city of Orange deserve your support in this effort. The effort is being spearheaded again by Lift Fund, headquartered in Texas, but they have already done an initiative similar in Corpus Christi. Now, between now and the end of November, they're coming to Orange County, Jefferson County, Liberty County, and Chambers County. Why? They're wanting, like this handout shows you, they're wanting to be like a one-stop shop to prepare small businesses in the city of Orange to be able to get a hand up with loan funds. What's exciting is that the loans will be zero interest up to a number of months once they are issued. The way it is scheduled, people like our organization and you, the city of Orange, will hold an initiative in your city so that everyone can get to them. The one in Orange is scheduled for Tuesday, October the 30th from 4 until 6. The one in Beaumont that we are hosting right down the way, the first exit when you get into the city of Beaumont, is scheduled for Wednesday, October the 23rd. And so basically, we need your help and your collaboration to make it a success, because small businesses do need help. And the loans themselves, again, for a period of time will be given out with zero interest. This Texas Small Business Rebuild Initiative, again, is to help, H-E-L-P. It is to help small businesses. And I really thank you for giving me this short time to help promote this. And I look forward to working with you in any way to help the small businesses within the city of Orange be able to make a difference and bounce back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hatcher.
Okay, next we have Ms. Geralyn Vine.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'm Geralyn Vine. I'm here representing the Heritage House Museum and want to make sure that you are all aware that on this Saturday, October 13th, the Heritage House is going to sponsor its annual historic Ghost Walk tour through downtown Orange. We'll begin at 5:30 and go until about 8 o'clock. There will be refreshments and there will be some games for the little children who are waiting for the tours, which will leave every 15 minutes from the Heritage House. We've had a really good results and reception for this tour in the past, and we hope to do so again and continue to watch it to grow as one of the feature events in Orange. I want to thank you all for your help and your support to the Heritage House, and welcome you all there. If your schedule's allowed, we'd love to see you on the tour. We might even put a costume on you.
What's your hours?
5:30 until 8. I'm going to, yes, thank you.
We'll see you's getting some advertisement while you's in front of there.
Do they have a Facebook page? Do y'all have a Facebook page?
Yes, we do.
Okay, because I want to be able to share it if
Museum,
there's,
and there's a website that's the Heritage House County Museum.
okay. I'll try to find it.
Yeah, she's saying that you'll get a letter.
Yes, ma'am.
This is
Thank you
nice.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have James Stevenson.
Let me say good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is James Stevenson. I live at 6415 Rosewood Drive. I own half of Lot 13, which is the south side, all of Lot 14 and 15. I have lived there for 35 years. I was in here some months ago when I talked about water being dumped from a trucking company, which is next to the skating ring, and was being channeled into my backyard. Now, it was explained to me that all of that water, of those so-called business or whatever you want to call them, was channeled towards 87. And for 35 years, that has been the case, and no water has come close to my backyard, not even Harvey. But after Harvey, there came a tractor with lights at night on that field between the skating ring and that trucking company, or the company that serviced trucks and things. When he was through, that water direction was changed 180 degrees. It no longer flowed towards 87. It flowed in reverse, and my property in the back also hooks up with it. And it did it by putting a whole bunch of little bitty digs in the ponds here and there, and the last pond stopped right at my back door into my thing, and it dumps right into my property. I talked with the City of Orange Drainage Department. They came out, took a look, and said they had to check something. I also talked with the county. They said they would get back with me, and the city got back. The county said there's nothing they can do about that. Now, I'm a little at loss when someone can direct water into your property, and there's nothing the city or the county can do about it. And what I'm saying, I'm talking to the City of Orange Drainage Department, and I'm talking to the county also, and I'm speaking to the representative of Precinct 1. This water that's being drained into my backyard has caused an acceleration of growth in the grass and weeds now that grows up there. It's so that I cannot mow that yard until the backyard until about a week, or better than a week. If you try putting a mower back there, you will stick it. It's just like that, it cannot be kept up. Now, if they want to use my property as a dump for water, buy it. I'll sell it to them, you see. But I can't afford to give it away because I got to have a place to live. I have talked with people about this, and they say there's nothing they can do about it. And the only thing that I have to say, I am 83 years old, and I have no desire to live in a place where these sort of things are done. So I am asking that this be stopped, that the dumping of this water I consider to be an unlawful act. And I have shown this to the Drainage Department of the City of Orange, and then they have told me there's nothing they can do about it. I don't feel I pay taxes on that property, and I don't feel that I need to pay taxes on property, then have to pay legal fees to protect it, as long as I'm in the City of Orange. And I'm asking that this be stopped. I cannot handle the situation that is causing in my backyard with that water. I have recently filed a claim with my insurance company, who has paid for sheetrock to be placed in, replaced in a garage, because one corner of the garage has dropped 3 inches, and the water sits up back there. I simply cannot handle this, and I'm asking that it be stopped.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. We gotta help him. Next, we have Dr. Lewis Harris. His name is Mr. Stevenson. James L. Stevenson.
Good morning. As you all know, I am not Dr. Harris. I am Pastor Moffitt, but I have with me Dr. Harris, who will further go and tell you about a collaborative effort between Orange Church of God and the Department of Veterans.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Dr. Harris. I'm with the Department of Veteran Affairs, Beaumont Vet Center. I would like to thank the mayor and the council for this opportunity. On November 9th, we are holding at the Orange Church of God what we're referring to as the health fair for all homeless veterans, veterans in need, and homeless period. What this health fair consists of is grassroots organizations within the community providing services, clothing, and anything that we can possibly put together from the Department of Defense, which we're getting a lot of stuff from, and we're issuing it out to the homeless. Presently, what we're looking at is approximately, we're hoping for 50 vendors from the surrounding counties, including Beaumont, Orange, to come together for this collaborate. And we're asking that there's businesses and concerned citizens of Orange participate. Now, I did not bring any flyers. That's Pastor Moffitt's fault. He got mad because we were in golf a while back. So what we're asking is that the city, the citizens, and the community of Orange participate in this event. Pastor Moffitt is my point man down here because I'm stationed in Beaumont, although Orange is part of my catchment area. I serve 11 county catchment area, and I'm very thankful that Pastor Moffitt has taken the lead on this project. So just asking that the business and citizens of Orange participate in the event. It is an opportunity to help those in need that are less fortunate than ourselves. This area, as we all know, is really devastated by Harvey. Mm-hmm. And we're still in the process of recovering. Mm-hmm. And that does not only go out to the veterans and the homeless veterans, that goes out to the regular citizens. We all still, maybe y'all not, we down there in Beaumont, and the ones in Beaumont, we're still in that process of recovery. And this is an opportunity to connect people with services and to help them get back on their feet. You know, my belief is that if you help a person once and they come out there feeling good after that experience, you've done something worthwhile.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
So we're asking you all help. Thank you.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Moffitt. Okay, we will now move to, is there anyone else who'd like to address the council? It's okay, Mr. Lowe. I know, the one and only.
Henry Lowe, 106 West Dewey Avenue, Orange, Texas.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor,
Good morning.
Good
City
morning.
Council.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Mayor, I'm here on behalf of the Orange African American Museum concerning something it's not on the agenda, but I went on the city's website and I saw an item. It was taken off a little later. It concerned the demolition of the M.H. Wallace Senior High School. The museum is not in a financial position to acquire that property, so we're resigned to it being demolished. But what we're asking is that when you let the contract for the demolition, if you could please put a clause in there that the demolition company notify the museum and allow us to retrieve enough bricks from the old original school building so that we can do a memorial monument at the museum property on Park Street.
Yes, sir.
It's very dear to a whole lot of us. And Mr. Stevenson, I remember we went to school there, and that old school really has some sentimental value to us, and it would be nice if we were able to take some bricks from it at least and make a memorial to everyone that has attended that school.
Thank you. That's great. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very
Yes,
much.
sir.
Thank
Great
you.
idea.
Oh, one little footnote.
Your event.
Tickets are available for our museum's Night of Jazz, scheduled for Saturday, October 27th at the VFW Hall. Anyone that loves good music should come out and listen to this young man play. He is from Orange also. He has gone on to fame and fortune as an entertainer, but he has agreed to come back and entertain with us. And another young lady, she told me not to put it together until she could really find out, but I talked Saturday with Miss Barbara Lynn. I don't know if too many people remember Miss Barbara Lynn. Well, I told her we needed her help, but we couldn't afford her. And she said if she wasn't doing anything, that she would come. I said, not to entertain, but to shake hands, sign some autographs, and if she still has some of her CDs, maybe she'd be interested in selling them. We would just love to have her there as our special guest. And I throw that out because some old people remember you lose a good thing if you don't show up for for that jazz concert. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Next, we have Ms. Hilary Haynes.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. On Saturday, October 27th, the Orange Convention and Visitors Bureau will be hosting a Halloween Spooktacular. It will be from 6 to 9, and from 6 to 7, we will have a trunk or treat activity for the kids. And then starting at 7, we'll show a movie on a large inflatable screen, and we'll be showing Monster House. And that will be Saturday, October 27th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Riverfront Pavilion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And now I will close the citizen comments and move on to item 6, proclamation, Fire Prevention Week. Proclamation from Office of the Mayor, City of Orange. Whereas the City of Orange is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Orange. And whereas U.S. fire departments responded to 352,000 home fires in 2016, according to the National Fire Protection Association. And whereas U.S. home fires resulted in 2,735 civilian deaths in 2016, representing the majority of all U.S. fire deaths. And whereas the fire death rate per 1,000 home fires reported to U.S. fire departments was 10% higher than in 1980. And whereas Orange residents should identify places in their home where fires can start and eliminate those hazards. And working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half. And whereas Orange residents should install smoke alarms in every sleeping room, outside each separate sleeping area, and on every level of the home. And whereas Orange residents should listen for the sound of the smoke alarm and when it sounds, respond by going outside immediately to the designated meeting place. And whereas home fire escape plans should be developed by all members of the household, and practicing a home fire escape plan twice a year ensures that everyone in the household knows what to do in a real-life fire situation. And whereas first responders of the Orange Fire Department are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas Orange residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. The 2018 Fire Prevention Week theme, Look, Listen, Learn, Be Aware, Fire Can Happen Anywhere, effectively serves to remind us that we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire. I, Larry Spears, Mayor of the City of Orange, do hereby proclaim October 7th through 13th, 2018, as Fire Prevention Week throughout the City of Orange, and urge all citizens of Orange to be aware of their surroundings, look for available ways out in the event of a fire or other emergency, respond when the smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building immediately, and to support and participate in the many public safety activities and efforts of the Orange Fire Department during Fire Prevention Week. All right, Chief Frenzel. All right. You guys have the fire event tonight, right?
We do.
What's the time for that? We can tell the trouble.
5 to 8 p.m. Central Fire Stations, open house. Everyone is invited, and we'll feed you dinner.
Oh, yeah.
We have hot dogs and all the fixings to go with it, and popcorn, and we'll be giving tours of the station, as well as they've got games for the kids, activities, crafts, photo ops, face painting, like I say, plus look at all the equipment. So
You can slide down the pole.
can't slide down. But we can certainly show them the pole.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, you bet. Thank you.
Chief.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
Yes, sir. Item 7, presentation. Presentation to Joe Love for his service on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Knopf.
Yes, sir. Joe Love has served on the Planning Commission since April 2011 and would not be able to serve a full term due to term limits. He's been an outstanding member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we're going to miss him greatly.
Yes, sir. Mr. Joe Love. And you get a special certificate to put on the trophy case.
It's kind of like early retirement.
That's what it's like. But you can't slide down the pole, though.
That's bad.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it, Mr. Love. Okay. Item 8, ordinances. Final reading. Consider an ordinance of the City of Orange, Texas, granting a franchise to DSC Carting LLC, DBA Deep South Containers, to operate a commercial closed container garbage collection service in the City of Orange, providing the terms, conditions, obligations, and limitations of such service, providing indemnity to the city, retaining authority to regulate rates, providing for franchise payments, and providing for severability. First reading was on September 25th, 2018. Mr. Knopf.
Yes, sir. This is the same ordinance that you approved at the last meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Ordinance passes. On to item 9, resolutions. Consider a resolution authorizing the extension of the city's HVAC contract with Alliance Mechanical Services through November 29th, 2018, or until the new contract agreement is decided upon. Mr. Wolf.
Yes, Mayor, Council, thank you. The current contract expired at the end of September, at the end of our normal fiscal year, and we would like to request your approval to extend the contract for no more than 60 days. We're working through the Finance Department through a process where we're evaluating requests for qualifications that have been responded to by several area contractors, and we hope to bring our recommendation to you on October 23rd, the next council meeting.
So this is so you can go and get other bids again?
We've already accepted the responses to our request for qualifications. That's currently being processed and reviewed, and we'll bring that recommendation to you at the next council meeting.
Okay.
We just have to, in case something,
Right, I understand
an
that.
issue develops over the next 60 days or 30 days, however long it takes us to enter into a new contract, either with Alliance Mechanical or someone else, we need some time.
Yeah, I make a motion.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 9B. Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Thank you.
Consider a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the County of Orange, Texas for the joint procurement of goods and services. Ms. Brown.
Mayor, Council, what this is this will allow the county to actually do pick up as far as debris within the city. This may take some of the burden off of us because everybody in the city pays county taxes, so this is just a way. We will still maintain our contracts if we need them, but this is a way to get the county to pick up everything instead of trying to say this city gets this and other city, so it's just basically one contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that because there's so many times that the city of Orange citizens are paying for things that are shared in other places.
Right.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. On to item 9C. Consider a resolution authorizing the city manager and the emergency management coordinator to amend Annex P of the City of Orange's Hazard Mitigation Plan in order to pursue further options of flood mitigation projects throughout the City of Orange. Ms. Brown.
There's one caveat that I didn't make in there, that it's really not Annex P that we're amending. I mean, it will be. It's actually two separate documents. The Annex P is a state mitigation hazard plan. What we're trying to operate off of on this is the city mitigation hazard plan. Mm-hmm. So what we're asking is that all these projects that we've submitted to FEMA is just that to make sure that it's in our plan in order so that they can be funded.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you, Ms.
Resolution passes. Item 9D, consider a resolution extending the agreement for emergency and non-emergency ambulance service between Acadian Ambulance Service of Texas, LLC, and the City of Orange. Mr. Frenzel.
Thank you,
Chief
Mayor.
Frenzel, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. 12 years ago, when Orange County Ambulance Service dissolved, we were put into the dilemma with no ambulance service and went out for RFQs for ambulance services, and we were blessed at that time to approve Acadian as our sole provider of emergency and non-emergency ambulance service in the city. They're originally on a 3-year contract with a option to be extended twice. That has been done. They have served us very well for the past 12 years. We're just asking to renew this contract at this time. In the 12 years we've watched them, they have always maintained within the guidelines of the contract as far as response times and equipment available. So at this time, like I say, we'd like to renew their contract for another 3 years.
Is there anything different in this contract than the previous contract?
No, sir. This is word for word the same contract that's been approved for the last 12 years.
I have a question. In that contract, do they have a certain number of ambulances or vehicles that is it specified in that contract how many, or can you request more? Or?
We have never, from the very beginning, we've never told them how many ambulances that they have to provide. Okay. What they have is they have a response time. They have to respond within our city within 7 minutes and 59 seconds.
Okay.
They have to have an ambulance on scene. If they can do that with one ambulance, it's fine. If it takes 12 ambulances to do that, it's fine. We're not telling them how to run their business. The response time is what we're looking at. So they respond to any emergency situation within 7 minutes and 59 seconds, 80% of the time. That was the guideline. That's what they bid on in 2006 when they started, and they've always lived up to that guideline.
But before there were our ambulance service, I heard complaints all the time about ambulances. And as far as I've been on the council, I haven't had complaints.
And if they fail to do so, then you would address that?
Right. We're kind of the ambulance police. Every time we get a complaint come through the fire department, then we get with Acadian, and they have always worked with us to resolve any complaints that they had. Some people don't understand what's, because if it's a non-emergency ambulance, it may be longer than that period of time, depending on what their staffing is. But for emergency use, 7 minutes and 59 seconds is the goal, and they have to make that 80% of the time, and they've never dropped below 80% in 12 years.
Okay. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is a death considered a non-emergency?
I would say yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Because our neighbor died.
Yes, ma'am.
Took the ambulance 45 minutes to get there.
Right.
That's, I know it's not an emergency because the body has expired.
Sure.
But if you have his mother, you have his family.
Yes, ma'am.
Calling the ambulance twice to get right here. Where are they located within the city?
Well, they're all over the city. Like I say, they post their ambulances in different places, and depending on the run load at the time, there may be one parked at 16th and Burton, and there may be one out in the area of the old hospital, or the closest ambulance may be at Interstate 10 and 1442. It's, they're very fluid and very mobile, and they try to put their units where the problem is.
I've seen them at I-10 and 1136 at Northway, and they're always.
And you know what? That's nice. Yeah. That's nice. But just last week, Pastor Gilliam on 10th, right above 10th and Burton, an apostolic church. He passed out in church after church.
We made a first responder on that call.
Yes, I saw you guys there. It took the ambulance 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I was sitting there, and we don't have a hospital here.
Right.
So 20 minutes means at least 50 minutes, depending on where they're going to take him. And in 50 minutes, a lot can happen to a person.
I agree with you. But like I say, the guideline is respond within 7 minutes and 59 seconds, 80% of the time.
I understand that. Right. I would like to be.
I'm not trying to say there aren't exceptions, but they've always met that guideline.
But 80% of the time means you're gambling
20%
with 20% of the people. Right. I would hate to be one of those 20% because we don't have a hospital. Right. Is there any other ambulance service out there that's looking to get in? Because we need the ambulance more now than ever. I'm living with someone, thank God, that has overcome cancer. Mm-hmm. If it decides to pop its head back up, I don't want that 20% to be a part of what's going to happen.
Oh, very much understand.
Chief,
yes, ma'am.
Let me have a little input.
Sure.
Here. You can open the market up to any ambulance company you wish to. When you do, you cut the profit margins even more for the ambulance provider that you have. If council desires better response time and council wants to pay for it and subsidize the ambulance company, any ambulance company will be glad to put however many buses you want in town, or if you want a 2-minute response, that's fine. They'll provide that service if you want to pay for it. When we bid this job last time in 2012 and 2006, subsidizing an ambulance company was $250,000 in 2006. Multiply that by inflation and fuel and personnel issues, and I don't know what that number would be now. So I understand there will be times that there's gaps in the process, but right now it's free. But if you want better service or better response times, tell us what you want, and we'll tell you how much it costs.
We may need to look at that.
If they're the sole provider, does it hurt to have someone else that can be there to help?
Yes, and the reason why is this. You have double staffing for down days that they don't get to provide because each ambulance service is going to want a day of running all 911 calls. They don't make money running 911 calls. In fact, I would be bold enough to say, Mr. Hebert's here, the pay ratio or the pay mix of their clientele base in this entire county is worse than 2006. It's harder for them to make money now than it was in 2006. If you cut their market and allow it to be an open process, you're cutting everybody's profit, and one day, just like in 2006, your provider's going to pull out and you got nothing.
They would probably have to run like a tow truck. how they
Port Arthur
rotate
can't
that,
do it,
you know?
Nederland can't do it, better pay mixed
Yeah,
ratio
no.
communities can't run two
That's not
companies.
gonna work.
If you want two companies, we'll give you two companies.
Well, the thing is, but
I'm not asking for two
But what the
companies.
thing is, though, I understand what is being said. I understand you have a business and you have to make money, but there's
Right.
also money doesn't cost a life. Like, I'm not ever going to tell citizens that us spending money is more important than a life.
Exactly.
I can't do that.
I was at a
I mean,
wreck
I
last
understand
month.
what you're saying, but I just want to make sure that it's not put out that this council just said we won't look into anything else because it's going to cost more money.
I was at a wreck a few months ago, and the ambulance never showed up.
You said you almost had
That's
one?
okay.
I was,
They
no,
might have
I
been-
was at a wreck, and the ambulance never showed up. And then after a while, the police officer, she just called, you know, I guess she
They
called.
might,
them.
you don't know the back operation of that. They might have been called off. They might have been assessed at the scene by some emergency personnel, and the ambulance company and the people involved in the wreck didn't request an ambulance. This isn't just automatic things that happen. There's checks and balances in it. But you're right, Mayor. If you want to open the market up, that's a council.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying that
and
right
you're
now.
you're not providing a message that you don't care about the citizens. But at the same time, the citizens of the county chose not to fund a hospital district.
Maybe the
Well,
response, I think
two
the
wrongs
response
can never
time-
make a right.
I'm not arguing that point. I'm
I
just
think the
telling you,
response time is
when you
just
go
need to
through a
be looked
budget
at.
process, you get a lot of pressure not to raise taxes. Now, $250,000 is about 2 cents of the tax rate on a guess. Then that's 2006 number. If you calculate inflation in it, you're pushing maybe $1 million for that subsidy.
I want to make a motion that we accept it as presented. And remember how much heartburn we had about going up on taxes? If y'all wanna do that some more, that's what we need to do is get other ambulance services in here.
I don't think we need
still
other
has
ambulance
discussion.
services. I just think we need to look at the response time.
What'd you say, sir?
I still have a discussion before we go on bids or motions and all. First of all, I'm older than dirt. I remember when, and I don't know if any of y'all are old enough, but I remember when we didn't have an ambulance system. You had an emergency, the funeral home would come out, physically pick them up, throw them on a $25 gurney and throw them in the back of the ambulance or their hearse. And they would either take them to the doctor or the hospital if there was one.
Remember whenever they flipped that ambulance?
Mm-hmm. And since they have done nothing but increase their knowledge, their expertise. Now ambulances are like dentists. Nobody wants them and can't afford them, but when it's necessary, they get them. I have yet to receive in all my police work and all, you know, there's going to be individual acts, like you said. But the majority of everything about Acadian has been extremely positive. They, y'all don't know how hard they worked during Harvey. They were everywhere. They set up a temporary hospital. They were in there 24 hours a day. It's amazing some of the things that they do, not only for that, but what they do for their community. They're always involved in our community. Yes, we do need to work on response times, but that falls with anything. And there's always a back, as Dr. Ubry said, a back store or a back reason for what it is. It could be traffic, everything. That's why we made the rules that they have to be east of the railroad tracks or west, so, because the train used to block them. I've seen a few fatalities because that train blocked them, and we took care of that problem. But I'll promise you they're the utmost professional organization in that type of industry. My only other concern I want to bring is on 3B, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
It states that the helicopter shall be staffed at all times by an FAA licensed pilot and a paramedic. I think it needs to be put in there that it should be minimum of a paramedic, and
because you'll have nurses, doctors, nurse providers, and what's the other nurse?
In the paperwork.
Anyway, they're above nurses, but they can be on the ambulance too, or the rotor wing service. But right here, it just says FAA licensed pilot and a paramedic. So I think we need to put a minimum of a paramedic. I think they're trying to stay away from the EMT section, but we do need to at least say minimum, because technically, if the paramedic's not there and you got a doctor on there, you're violating this. So if we could add that too, other than that, I think it's wonderful we have them.
I don't see that being a problem. I can assure you, anytime that helicopter flies, the minimum medical personnel on the helicopter is going to be a paramedic.
Yes, sir, I understand.
That's going to be the minimum.
I just don't want to rate it as,
yes, sir,
you know, the legal terms. I don't want to provide them problems in civil and everything else.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we have a motion, but not a second.
And I'll second
will the
with that
original,
provision.
will the original motion be willing to amend it to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have a second to the new amended motion?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I oppose.
Okay. On to item 9E. Consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with the Orange Lions Club for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $5,000 for fiscal year 2019. Mr. Trahan.
Yes, sir. Mayor, this is a follow-up to the previous council meeting. The Orange Lions Club is a new applicant for the city of Orange, so as a result of that, they weren't on the original agenda in terms of resolutions. So now we came back and we're taking care of that at this particular meeting to go ahead and enter into that agreement. And then secondly, I would like to announce that Hilary Haynes attended the Lions Club meeting last night. The new dates for the carnival as a result of all of the cancellations and rescheduling because of the weather conditions, November 7th through the 10th and November 14th through the 17th, contingent upon being able to set up and what the weather pattern will be over the next 3 or 4 weeks.
What was the second date?
November 7th through the 10th, November 14th through the 17th are the official new rescheduled dates as of last night.
Yes,
So
sir.
subject to your approval, Mayor and Council will move forward with executing the agreement.
Motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Man, if the weather don't stop, we may end up having a Christmas carnival, huh? Okay, 9F, consider a resolution authorizing the city's participation in and acceptance of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development's Community Development Block Grant Award of $328,587 for the Year 5 Annual Action Plan of the 5-year Consolidated Plan, and authorizing the city manager to enter into a grant agreement for federal funds. Ms. Wilson.
Yes, this is for our 2018 grant program year. It's also for the 2019 fiscal year. This was the same plan I brought to y'all in August. It's been submitted to HUD. HUD has approved it, and now we're ready to enter into the grant agreement. And then we should be funded around the end of November, the 1st of December.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Resolution passes. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. 9G, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract between the Orange Municipal Police Association and the City of Orange, Texas. Dr. Ubry.
Mayor and Council, you authorized a 1-year negotiated contract with the Orange Police Association that includes 2.25 cost of living. You tasked staff with creating a disaster pay policy. You increased the officer's eligible certificate pay and also the clothing allowance, and those are the change items in the 1-year contract.
Okay.
I looked at this contract, and it's a good contract. The only thing I would ask is if you're reusing an old contract, make it gender neutral. This is as if it's only men, no he and she. But
Actually,
I give the motion.
Had a reference in there to that.
I make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Item 10, discussion. Consider a motion approving the adoption of the fiscal year 2019 budget for the Orange Economic Development Corporation. Ms. Zito.
Yes, good morning, Council, Mayor. This is just to adopt the EDC 2019 budget that we presented earlier to the EDC board.
I make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 10, motion passes. Item 10B. Consider a motion reappointing Larry Spears Jr., Bill Mello, Terry T. Salter, and Gil Barnett to the Orange Economic Development Corporation for an additional 2 years effective October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2020. Mr. Trahan.
Yes, sir. So this is the time of year, Mayor, whenever we consider the reappointments. 3 of you represent the council, which includes the mayor and then 2 other council members. So these 3 individuals are up for reappointment, subject to your approval.
I make the motion.
Second.
How do you end up on the list of appointments?
Well, in terms of, from a council perspective, basically you make that decision. Whenever one of the council members no longer runs for a position, or perhaps they relocate out of the area, whatever the case may be, whenever a position becomes available, you as a seated council makes the decision based on that recommendation. So right now,
I just didn't remember, and it wasn't necessarily this one, it was a previous one. You know, just the names were on there, and I didn't remember anything until it came up on the agenda.
right, so, yeah, you officially appoint them whenever one of the council members.
I mean, once it's on the agenda.
Right.
Okay.
But when a available seat from a council perspective is there, then we come to you and then you make that appointment at that time. The most recent vacancy was filled by Ms. Terry Salter. So the 3 of you are, if you're willing to serve, are being considered to move forward with the next 2 years in terms of representing the council.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. On to item 10C. Consider a motion appointing Mr. Demetrius E. Moffitt to the Orange Economic Development Corporation for a 2-year term effective October 9th, 2018 through September 30th, 2020. Mr. Trahan.
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Mr. Dean Granger, who has served on the EDC board and has completed his years of service. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to be here with us this morning for the EDC board meeting because he had a scheduling conflict. But I first and foremost want to acknowledge him, not only having served on the board, but also having served as the president and leading the way for us to move the economic development projects forward. So as a result of that, in terms of the opening that was created, Mr. Demetrius Moffitt submitted an application specifying the EDC board, and just a few thoughts to share. Number one, Mr. Moffitt has been involved with the City of Orange from a project perspective for many years, representing CenterPoint Energy. Anytime we are considering a new economic development project that either involves the submittal of a preliminary plat or just considering infrastructure, Mr. Moffitt in the past has represented CenterPoint Energy. So he has the depth of knowledge and the understanding in terms of what it takes to move an economic development project forward when you're at the point where you're considering infrastructure and primarily providing utilities. So based on that and his knowledge and expertise in terms of working these projects, he has that insight and that vision from that perspective to be able to bring to the CDC board. So subject to your approval, we'll move forward with his appointment and he'll begin his service.
I'll make a motion, but I still have a question. Was there any other applicants?
There wasn't any other applicants that specified the EDC board only. There were a few applicants that completed every block that was on the application itself that would just be willing to serve in any capacity.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Moffitt. Mr. Moffitt's done an amazing job in our community, and we
Amen.
appreciate you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. On to item 10D, discussion and possible action regarding mitigation grant funding options as it relates to Hurricane Harvey. Mr. Greg Wabi.
He looks familiar.
Happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
As
Leanne's passing around a briefing. That's what I came here today, is to talk about some of the mitigation grants we're working on and some of the different programs that we have before us as funding opportunities. So as everyone collects this briefing I've prepared, this is what I refer to as a program matrix for mitigation projects for individual properties. And why did I develop a matrix? Why? Because there's 3 different programs that are in play in terms of funding opportunities for the disaster recovery of Hurricane Harvey. Okay? I'm going to outline those to start with, so we have those all before us, and then we'll start talking about how each one of these programs work and how they're best suited for individual properties. The first program is the FEMA Flood Mitigation Assistance Severe Repetitive Loss Grant Program. The acronym for that is SRL program. That is administered by the Texas Water Development Board at the state level, and the city has pursued grants through that particular program in the past. We can talk about that a little bit further. The second program that I've listed here is the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, or HMGP. That program is administered on the state level by TDEM, the Texas Division of Emergency Management. A third program that we'll be talking about today is the HUD, or Housing and Urban Development, Community Development Block Grant for Disaster Recovery, or CDBG-DR. That program at the state level is administered by the Texas General Land Office. So those are the 3 programs that we're here to talk about. And because each program has different variables in terms of what it takes to qualify for assistance under those programs, I developed an outline for finding a way to optimize the program itself to make sure that the program serves the individual circumstance to the greatest extent, and also optimizes the available funds at both the city, state, and federal levels. Before I get into this program matrix we'll be talking about, I wanted to define a couple of terms that are important. One is LMI, which stands for low to moderate income, and that's as it's defined by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. That is an important thing that we'll be talking about going forward. Specifics about what that definition means is something that probably goes beyond the scope of our discussion today, but it's just an important term. I wanted to make sure it was outlined for us. A second term that's important is the Special Flood Hazard Area, or SFHA. That's as it's defined by FEMA, who is the agency that outlines what areas are either within or not within the Special Flood Hazard Area, or it's also known as the floodplain to many folks that are familiar with the flood programs and the different insurance types that are available. So with that outline in place, we got the 3 programs, we have a couple of terms that we've defined. I wanted to actually go through what I've referred to as a decision-making matrix to find what exact program is going to be best suited for those circumstances. The first one you'll see is if an individual property is LMI qualified, in other words, if it meets the standards of HUD for a low to moderate income household, if that same property is also in a special flood hazard area, and if it has multiple flood insurance claims, if it meets all those 3 criteria, the best program to serve that circumstance would be the Severe Repetitive Loss Grant Program. It funds 100% of the grant and the entire project, and it does not take away from available funds from either the HMGP or CDBG-DR program. So that's the first scenario that I've put together. A second scenario is for an individual property or household that is not LMI qualified. Say, for instance, if it didn't meet that standard or definition, but say it was in the special flood hazard area, and it did have multiple flood insurance claims, in that scenario, again, the SRL program would be best suited. Third one, scenario we have listed here is a property that is LMI qualified. It is in the special flood hazard area, but it might not have multiple flood insurance claims for various reasons. They might have flooded many times, but they might not have had flood insurance, for example. In that scenario, the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, or HMGP, is going to be the best primary funding source. And then in that scenario, we could use the Community Development Block Grant for Disaster Recovery, CDBG-DR, as the 25% match to lead to a 100% funding source for that particular scenario. Next scenario down is a property that is LMI qualified. It is not in a special flood hazard area, and it might not have multiple flood insurance claims. For that scenario, the CDBG-DR program is going to be best suited to serve the mitigation projects for that individual household. Last one is a property that's not LMI qualified, but is in a special flood hazard area and does not have multiple flood insurance claims. The best program for that would be the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. The catch to that is that in this final scenario I've laid out, only 75% of the funding would come from a federal source, and that other 25% would have to come from some other federal source that we haven't identified yet. So with that, I would just open it up for questions. I have a few notes to finish up with, but I'd encourage you to inquire about any of this that we've covered so far.
How much money is considered to be low to moderate income?
Yeah, very natural and important question. There is not just one total or one figure that defines low to moderate income. It is based on a few variables. An important one is the household size. It's on somewhat of a sliding scale that it might be a single person household all the way up to an 8-person household. And there's a similar matrix that's available for meeting those definitions. A second variable that plays into whether a property meets the LMI definition and gets served by this program is the available funds. As far as the rollout, the expectation of the Texas General Land Office will be that the properties that meet the definition that are LMI qualified are ranked by what percentage of that threshold that they meet. And in the rollout of that, what it's going to mean is the lowest income households we get served first, and it works up the ladder, so to speak, for the properties that do meet that definition until funds are extinguished. So in a very technical sense, a property or a household could meet this LMI definition, but if they're right at that threshold, for example, the funds might have been extinguished by households that had a lower income than they did. So that's the long answer to your question about what that threshold is. There's some variables involved.
Two questions. The first question I have is, whenever you have like the renter and property owner situation, which probably tends to happen a lot in these areas, how do you guys, like, I know you have to have the consent, you have to have the consent of both. I mean, how does that work? Because I'm sure you have to deal with it.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Now, for the purpose of what's called the Uniform Relocation Assistance Act, URA rules are in place that govern those circumstances where a landlord, for example, might be interested in doing a mitigation project for their household. That could lead to either temporary or long-term displacement for the tenant, the renter. Mm-hmm. The programs, depending on which one that we're talking about, I'll use, for example, the HMGP program. The HMGP program does provide assistance to that tenant for up to a period of 42 months that would cover the additional costs that they would incur if they need to be displaced, either temporarily or long-term. So there is a rule and specified figures in place that would protect any additional costs that would be borne by that tenant. One additional note on the particular rule here is that not only is it the additional cost in terms of utilities and increased rent, for example, but also the moving costs associated if there were to be any. So that's a scenario that would impact a tenant situation. For an actual property owner, there is certain relocation assistance benefits that are made available by the CDBG-DR program. Okay, that those same benefits are not available through either the SRL or the HMGP, but there is some in place. And getting back to an aspect of your question that I want to address, the permissions that would need to be involved for both the property owner and the tenant is something that's even more complex, but the foundation of it certainly would be that the property owner would need, that's listed on that deed and recognized by the appraisal district, would need to be on board with any mitigation project, whether it was acquisition or elevation or anything affecting that property, at a minimum. And in theory, the tenant obviously could bring forth the idea, but the property owner would need to be on board.
I have a question. You said, when Ms. Pennell asked the question, you said that there are several variables. Will these variables be defined? Because one of the problems I have is when you have something going on and people don't really fully understand what's going on, it may deter them from really participating because they're like, I don't want to be bothered with that, right, because I don't really quite understand. So the variables that you speak of, is there some way that it can be kind of narrowed down on the level so people, homeowners and renters and everyone can fully understand what you are bringing so people can really participate in this program?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very fair question too, both of them. Folks want to understand, what the requirements are, what those thresholds are, and what they mean to them in terms that are simple and able to be understood. So I'll offer a little additional detail to that, but I also want to say that as this program is being rolled out, and it's not been, fully activated as it stands as of today.
Okay.
But the definition for low to moderate income in specifics is 80% of the area median income.
Is the median of the area median?
Area median income.
Gotcha. 80%, 80%.
Okay.
Okay.
Dependent on the household size.
Okay.
So that figure, it is a specified dollar amount. We're still waiting to see which census year the Texas General Land Office and HUD decides to use for to set that specific parameter. It might be 2016, it might be 2017.
Okay.
So that is the specific definition, and I would hearken back to another variable that I did introduce, which is there could be some that meet that specific definition according to their household size and everything else. But if there are other lower income households that extinguish the available funds in the lead up to it, they could, again, technically qualify, but there could be others that are served before them based on a lower income status, if that were to play out. Yes, sir.
Okay, so one of the things we talked with you before in your bag to give us another update. One of the things that we talked about before was having a forum and inviting the community out to discuss these things. Can you give us an email after this or some type of homework that you need from us as a council to already have set in place or ready? Because we don't want to show up at a forum and then have a whole bunch of questions and we're not prepared as well.
Absolutely.
Can you do that for us if there's anything you need for us to take care of?
Ask the question again.
Okay, so if we're gonna be starting getting prepared to roll this out to the community, is there anything that we need to have ready to go? Like, so for instance, I know last time we were trying to discuss what is the number of floods that we're going to set as
that's what I thought the basis of that.
Right,
that question has.
We had to do several other things.
That all has to be done in here in an open forum.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying, but is there a list of things that you need? Or is that the only one?
Even putting the list together
has to be done openly?
All has to be done in transparency. But
I just want to make sure we have it ready.
Good question, but that all has to be dialogue
done.
here.
Gotcha, no problem.
And if I may, speak to one specific that touches on the question and the subject matter, there is a procurement process that's underway for elevation contractors, and that was an important step in the lead up to what could be a community workshop where some of these mitigation grants are described in their greatest detail, okay? And so that was an action that in previous council meetings it's been addressed. The status of that procurement is ongoing. It's being advertised as we speak. So that is one action that council has taken and staff has followed through on that has led to a preparation for the rollout and a community forum or workshop.
Mr. Wabi, I've talked to you last week, and thank you for taking my call. The website, there's still some glitches going on with the website. One of the things that I keep hearing over and over again is after Hurricane Harvey hit, there are several people here in our community that have yet to get any help or any funding from anything. They always, if it's 50 slots, they're always 51. So how can we help them? Because if there are all these different variables that would cause them to be number 51 again, how do we help them be closer into the 50? Say if you only had 50, do they keep getting overlooked because there is no more money and no more money is coming in? That's one of the things that I think bothers me the most about this. We're learning about it. We've learned about it months ago. And, every day there's new changes and new changes. But how do we get them to be able to be in the right place at the right time?
Okay. Couple things there I want to make sure that I touch on and address as detailed manner as possible. For one, these programs that we're looking at are all either in the application stage or even prior to the application stage. I'm going to say at least the HUD or the CDBG-DR program, it's not even available on the street, so to speak, to even apply to the Texas General Land Office. Not yet. I attended a workshop, in fact, ourselves and much of the city staff attended a workshop last week where we got some additional details about how that the GLO program is going to roll out. It was very encouraging in many ways. They didn't specify on when exactly that program was going to run out. They did not give us an ETA, but it sounds like it's a period of months and not years, and so that's an encouraging bit of feedback. For the other two programs, the Severe Repetitive Loss Program and the HMGP program, both of those are FEMA funds. That is in the application stage currently. We're hoping to, back to Mayor Spears' comment about having a public workshop, that is something that we absolutely intend to do and that we want to do. And at that time, we would be able to not only provide as much information as possible so that folks can prepare themselves and assemble the data that they need in order to inquire or apply for these funds, but also as a way to help them through a process. Say, for example, if they had a difficulty, finding the website or navigating through the website, we would be able to give them that hands-on assistance. And then the last thing I'll say when it comes to, helping someone that's having a hard time navigating through the red tape, so to speak, we do have a paper form. So people are not required to use a website as a way to interact. This is one way to do it. But we also encourage, whatever folks are comfortable with, if they want to handle things through the mail or on paper, or even arrange an in-person meeting. We are happy to do that, and we do want to make sure that everyone's needs and capabilities are worked with and satisfied.
How do they get these forms if they do not want to use or have access to online? I know some of the elders that they don't even fool with that type of technology, some of them. So how do they get this paperwork?
Yeah, we have rolled out it was a public announcement that what we're referring to is intake materials. They're not necessarily applications, but they're intake materials that include guidance to utilize the website we've developed, or also a paper application. And that has been publicized, I believe. It's available. I'm not sure whether it's posted on the city's website or it's available through emergency management. But I do know that we have received calls, emails, actual completed packets through those mechanisms. So I do know it's working. Yes, sir.
Mr. Wabi, based on her question, could we put together a confidential packet where they could come by the emergency management office at Central Fire Station, pick them up, the applicant seals them, turns them back in, and we'll get them to you?
I'm all for that. Yes, sir.
We'll try to work out the logistics of that. Does that help you?
Yes, sir. I do have another question. Is there a certain amount that we are dealing with for the Orange area, or will the funds, like, you have a certain amount, or it increases over time because you continually getting funding?
Yeah, and I do have a few notes on those, on that subject matter. The first one is, for the CDBG-DR program, that is what's referred to as a defined allocation, okay? The Southeast Texas Regional Planning Commission has published what's called a method of distribution for funds, which just yesterday was officially approved by the Texas General Land Office and HUD. So we know exactly, how much funding is going to be coming into the city of Orange for various projects, okay? That's one category. Back to the FEMA funds, the HMGP program and the SRL program. Those are competitive, either statewide or nationwide. And so as far as how much is going to be, received under those categories, I'm sure if we apply for them, there will certainly be some. There always has been. But how much, it depends on how much you ask for, and also what's going on across the landscape of the rest of the state. How much is absorbed by other communities.
Oh, okay. So it's not just specifically just for Orange, it's allocated for an area?
It's allocated by formula.
Oh.
And remember about 4 months ago when we were having all this discussion and you were asking about how the money's going to be allocated to Orange? Well, it's all based on formula, and that's why, as we're rolling into this, I'll kick off the next idea. That's why it's so important to participate in the census, because all this federal money that comes in such a situation like this is based on census numbers. Okay. And that's why we encourage and mandate people to participate in the census, because these formulas are based on the census information. And for some reason, $9 million is ringing in my mind. Isn't that kind of the ballpark figure on the mod that was just approved this past week?
There's actually two numbers that are important. The first one is the infrastructure funding. That total was approximately $8.5 million. There was a second and separate figure of approximately $3.2 million that's dedicated to mitigation projects for individual households. Okay.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, approximately $8.5 million on the infrastructure side.
Okay.
And $3.2 million for the individual property mitigation.
Okay.
I will also qualify those totals by saying that there is more coming. Okay?
That's not very much money.
It's not.
It's not much at all.
I completely agree with that. Yes, sir. And what we do know, and again, this was actually explained somewhat in the workshop we attended last week, was that additional rounds of funding will be coming forward. How much will be available, we don't know.
Okay.
But another thing that I would want to note about the amount of how many millions that we're talking about, that is just one program. That is just the CDBG-DR program, which, as Dr. Oubre pointed out, has been defined and allocated by the Southeast Texas Regional Planning Commission and approved by the Texas General Land Office and HUD. So that is a defined amount. These other two programs, the FEMA SRL program and HMGP, those are competitive funds, and we do anticipate submitting applications for significant funding for both infrastructure projects and also for individual households also, okay?
As more money comes available, Dr. Whopper, will you be able to come back before us and let us know?
I entirely endorse that as often as possible. Because this subject matter is complex, it's hard to get it on 10 sheets of paper or 50 sheets of paper, let alone just a single page, and without taking up all council's important time. And so I do encourage as many workshops, briefings as is necessary to get really as familiar as possible with the subject matter. I can tell you have all asked some very good questions. You have followed along each time I've come to present. I can tell that you already know a lot about this to begin with, and the questions have I think only added to that level of understanding. One last thing I'd like to say on that subject is I'd really like to compliment city staff for their understanding, both either their background in these programs and also the way we've teamed together and been able to complement each other and work around this to, again, the ultimate goal is to optimize these programs, to serve as many people as possible, and to rebuild as strong as possible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Wabi.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Wabi, I'd like to meet with you after the council meeting.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Next item is item 10E, discussion and possible action regarding reclassifying a municipal court clerk position to a municipal court administrator and adjusting the pay grade from a 26 to a 29. Ms. Cheryl Zito.
Yes, we need to address the challenge we're having with the municipal court right now. Municipal court, is located in the police department building, and currently, and for many years I suspect, it's been supervised by the customer service manager at City Hall. Well, we were considering a change when the City Hall moved to 16th Street because of the location. However, our customer service manager is retired. So we have decided, well, we're placing this in front of you to consider making this change now. Currently we had 2 court clerks, and the customer service manager was our court administrator, which is appointed by the city manager, and that's of a record. So we don't have one right now. So we need to appoint one. So my recommendation, or through consideration of all possible venues, was take one of our court clerks and make the court clerk, who is also eligible to be a court administrator, make one position a court administrator and have a court clerk, and remove it from the supervision of the customer service manager. They will report directly to the finance department as a department head, but that would let them be a little more independent, and that way when City Hall moves, we won't have a problem. They function independent. We do have a court clerk that is certified court 2. She is certified and taken all the courses to be a court administrator. And I would like to introduce, this is Loretta Warnell. She is one of our court clerks. Okay. She goes to all the classes. She maintains her CPE. She works very well with our judge and prosecutor. And so in order to have a court administrator at this point, Ms. Marnell, she's qualified, she's willing. She's been with it 24 years. Mm-hmm. Long time.
She just started.
But she will
make
be,
a motion.
I've worked hand in hand with her when I was with the police department. She's a very dedicated employee
Yes,
to the city of
she is.
Orange.
Yes, she is.
And she is also a great representative of Orange in her private life. So I second. And congratulations.
Congratulations.
I think you got
That's
third.
wonderful.
You got 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and 7th.
Yes.
And Sean and
Wonderful.
Jack will make 8. Okay. I have a motion, a second, a third, and fourth. Do I have all in favor say aye?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
y'all very much.
Congratulations.
And she doesn't take rides from strangers.
Okay, item 10F. Discussion and possible action regarding giving notice to the Orange Municipal Court Judge, the Orange Municipal Court Deputy City Attorney, and the Orange Municipal Court Alternate/Assistant Judge that the City of Orange will advertise for requests for qualifications for these positions. And it says just mayor, council.
I'll make a comment. The city attorney, the judge, the prosecutor, and the assistant judge all serve at the pleasure of the council. They work with the council, the manager. So this would require a majority vote of the council to do that. So you need to have a motion and a second and a majority vote. Otherwise, if you're satisfied that you don't need to do that, if you have a motion and a second, you vote it down.
I make a motion to accept it as it is.
I'll second.
To accept it as it is, to give them notice?
No, not to, how we've been doing things.
Read it again.
Yes.
Discussion and possible action regarding giving notice to the Orange Municipal Court Judge, Orange Municipal Court Deputy City Attorney, and the Orange Municipal Court Alternate Assistant Judge that the City of Orange will advertise for request for qualifications for these positions.
Okay, and you're making a
I'll take it
motion to
back,
keep it
yeah.
as it is?
Well, as have we been doing
To not
things?
change it?
Yes, or not change it.
Yeah, we don't need to be changing, we've already got enough stuff to change right now.
Okay, what are you guys saying you don't need to change it? This is there because we have a 2-year contract that has lasted for 17 years. A 2-year contract. And I'm only saying this because we have attorneys that come out of school that one day would like to be a judge either in district court or higher. Being a municipal court judge is not something to sneeze at. That's giving an attorney the opportunity to learn more about the law. If you don't give your attorneys that opportunity to get into that position, then how are you going to expect them to move forward? All cities have municipal court judges. All cities have civil court judges and district court judges. You have to start somewhere. And blocking someone that's coming into this position from getting this type of knowledge is not what I would like to do. And this is just me. I'm only one person. But that's why I looked at it. That's why I thought it would be a good thing to have fresh. When you don't open up for others to come in and to look and to review and to help, the law is called practicing because it changes constantly. And this will give them an opportunity to practice law at a municipal court level, which will help them gain more knowledge.
I understand in a sense what she's saying, but my issue is the term. 2 years really.
There's no term now. They serve at your pleasure.
What do you mean there's no term? What do you mean there's no term?
It keeps coming up every 2 years, right?
You give them you agree to pay them for a year or 2 years, and they have a 2-year
contract.
2-year pay situation. But at any time, they serve at your pleasure.
Okay, because I don't like the term. Okay.
Pay them a certain amount for a certain period of time, but they serve just like me at your pleasure.
Why does it come up every 2 years? Can it be longer?
No, they have a 2-year contract. I have a copy of the municipal court judge's contract.
Oh, okay.
After that 2 years, he has served at your pleasure.
Why didn't we know that?
I don't know. No, it's never come up while I've been city attorney until just right now.
I was going to say, because it would bother me to have a new judge possibly every 2
Yes.
years. I mean, we have a system here.
Yes.
And we don't want to jeopardize our judicial system, and here comes another person. And then by the time we figure out, you know, if they are doing something that we don't particularly care for, then here comes another person. 2 years is just not enough time. In most contracts, I've seen around here like 5 years or so.
But it's not a contract.
So is the contract, is the contract really not a contract?
Okay.
Is the contract really not a contract?
Yeah, no, it is a pay contract.
A pay contract about only the pay.
Every
Okay.
2 years to revisit it.
Okay.
Well, I think,
Not an agreement or a term of
No.
Okay.
So if you reach out for attorneys to get into this position, they stay in that position for an indefinite amount of time.
That is correct, until they decide they want to leave, or retire, or.
until council wants to remove them.
Yes.
Right.
Decides they want to replace.
I understand.
So your situation here today is simple. You either go out for, applications and, or not. If the motion fails, they stay right where they are. If it passes, you will take applications and decide whether you want to, replace these people or not.
Attorney Smith, here's the, well, and I just want to say, here's the thing. We don't replace the secretary. We don't replace a lot of people that have jobs. We're talking teachers and, I mean, unless you've been reprimanded and you are fired or you quit or you retire. So, you know, we don't just replace people like that. So I don't know. This is not a position that actually is a position that every 2 years, because that's not the type of contract. We just talk about raises, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Practice law and orange for 51 years. They've had 2 city judges.
Yeah, and if a person hasn't given us reason to demote them or get
There's
rid
never
of
a
them,
reason.
then
You don't ever have to have a reason. That's not what I'm saying. It's not about a reason. It's about an opportunity. It's not about a reason. I have nothing against Judge Pennington. I actually talked to Judge Pennington. I have nothing against Cimarron Campbell or the assistant judge. The only thing that I understood was they had a 2-year contract. Now I'm hearing that 2-year contract really isn't a contract, that it's just something.
That is what you're hearing.
That's what I'm hearing. Okay, then why wasn't that said 2 years ago? Why wasn't that said 5 years ago? Why wasn't that said 17 years ago? If it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. What my problem is, we don't get the information that we should have in front of us.
If you didn't ask for the information.
That makes no sense. That makes no sense.
I want to finish. If you didn't ask for the information, you didn't get it. As far as I'm concerned, sitting here for as long as I have, it has never been an issue, ever.
It's never going to be an issue if you don't know about it. But if you know about it, then you should give us all the information up front. I'm fine with it. If you want to keep them there, keep them there. I'm fine with it. But what I'm not fine with is not getting all the information that is needed up front so that we can make an informed decision. That's the decision we have to make. And if we decide that we don't want to change things because we have all the information, then nothing is going to be changed. But you cannot withhold information thinking because we did not ask for it, we didn't get it. And a 2-year contract is just that, a 2-year contract. Now, if you want to say that contract is null and void and it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. Keep him there until the cows come home. But give me the information I asked for, whether you think I need it or not.
I just gave you the information today that you asked, and now you need to take a vote and decide
Mayor,
whether you want to change.
we have a motion and a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor to keep it as it is, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I oppose.
On to item 10G, discussion and possible action regarding necessary business resulting from Hurricane Harvey. Dr. Ubri.
No report, sir.
No report. On to item 11.
I've still got a question about that last deal. 2 weeks ago, whenever we came in here, the whole deal that was on the agenda was to vote them the 2.25% raise. I know it's
going to come back up on the next agenda. Then.
Okay, so I was just wondering, because we never did vote on it, it got tabled before, so I just wondered.
It'll be on the next agenda.
On to item 11. Officially, the last city manager report.
Thank you. I have one announcement, and it's for Mr. Knopf. There'll be a joint City Council Planning and Zoning Commission tonight on the proposed Cypresswood Village Phase 2 residential subdivision and a proposed ordinance on fence regulations. This meeting's at 5:30 tonight here in these council chambers. Thank you, sir.
That's it on your manager report?
That's it.
Okay. City Council report, starting at my right. Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Pullen.
Thank you, sir. I would like to thank everyone for coming. I take notes. I don't want y'all to think we ignore you. This is my notes today for citizens that spoke. And we do contact y'all after the city council meetings. But this is filled up for the first time since I've been here for 4.5 years. It's amazing. I love it. You got a problem, come talk to us. Again, I thank you for coming. Congratulations, Ms. Hornell. And as soon as he gets finished kissing the
I'm sorry.
Attorney Smith goodbye, I want to thank Dr. Ubri for his service with the City of Orange. Things don't always go our way. Things don't always go his way, but he's always been professional about it. He's also saved the city millions of dollars. I don't know if the citizens know this in the background or what, but he has saved us a lot of money during our terrible times of hurricanes and tornadoes and things. He has used his background for his contacts to better the city of Orange. I could go on, but we are going to sorely miss him. Where he's going, should be very thankful they're getting him. And I just thank you for everything you've done, and you will be missed.
Thank you.
Why am I always behind you?
Thank
Thank you, Sean. I know you and I agree about 80% of the items, another 20% we talk it out like gentlemen do. I appreciate you being here. I'm sorry I only get to serve a year with you, but hopefully we'll find a replacement with you that's somewhere of your caliber. And thank you, Bob Baptista, for coming out. We've been fighting this issue for a while.
Yes.
And I think if you keep your voice heard, we'll get this taken care of.
I want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to thank those who are tuning in. I want to invite those who are tuning in to please start coming to our council meetings. I want to congratulate Ms. Warnell and Pastor Moffitt and thank you, Dr. Watt, for speaking. Last but not least, I know many are probably like, why is she dressed in an Astros? Our very own Dr. Ubri is an Astros fan. I found out, a little birdie told me. And I just want to present something. He was always very nice and kind to me since I've been here. And I think he's really a really brilliant man. Everybody has their own opinion, and everybody's relationship with someone is totally different. So for me, I can honestly say thank you. I don't care what question or anything that I've ever brought before him. I mean, I even tell him, well, not right now. I have it just like that. So he's very sharp. And so this is a little something from me to you. I just want to thank you. I hate to see you go. I know that they are going to love you because you were really great to us, and thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And why do I have to go behind you? We try very hard. I try very hard to help us get things going forward. I thank everybody that came out and spoke today, good, bad, or ugly. Your voice is needed, and your voice is heard. There's nothing personal about anything. My concern is for a place that I call home. This is my home. Everything about it is my home. We're here because we work for you. If you have a problem, then we're here to hear it. I apologize for my outburst, but I want to know everything that I should know when I should know it, and not because I didn't ask for it. Thank you for coming out, those of you who came out. Thank you for speaking, those of you who got up and spoke. Done?
Yeah. I was going to just congratulate Mr. Moffitt on his new job, but I guess he sneaked out.
He did.
And also Ms. Warnell. Yeah, I know she's done a good job for us for years and years. You know, it's not like she's getting just broke in or anything.
She's a sweet lady.
No. Yeah, and tonight we have Ducks Unlimited, which, you know, everybody's invited, but it costs you money to get in. So, and I also got something for Sean. He's put up with me a whole lot of times whenever he probably didn't want to, but so I got a nicer gift bag.
We got an HEB
I went
bag.
all that on the gift bag.
All right, man. We got an HEB.
Richest guy here, and he gets a bag like that.
Yeah. It's a gas station bag.
He probably picked it up off the ground.
All right.
You know, everybody's all for recycling.
My turn?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to thank all of you for coming. All of you have a voice, and we are your voice as well. So when you have something that you're displeased with, you call us.
Exactly.
We are your voice. So I got several phone calls this week, and what I encourage you to do is come and speak on your behalf. And people have. So anyway, you were heard. Dr. Overy, we thank you so much. I've only been a part of this for 3 months, and I'm sad that I haven't got to work with you, any longer. But
Mayor, I want to make a comment. 'Cause I've been city attorney for 26 plus years and 4 city managers, one of whom lasted a month. But the other 3, Chuck Pinto and Sam Kittrell and Sean Oubre, have been excellent city managers. Orange has been very blessed to have good managers. But I want to say one thing about Sean. I've enjoyed working with him, and I work with him extensively. Not a week goes by that I don't talk to him several times. And I can tell you one thing. Not only is he a prince of a person and a very good man, in the 13 years, that's right, 13, that he has been here, never one time have I ever told him, ever, that he is doing something wrong or illegal. That's my job, is to keep him straight. But guess what? I never had to keep him straight. It's been a real fortunate time for Orange to have someone as well qualified and as honest and decent and good a man as Sean Oubre. And I've
totally
enjoyed
agree.
every minute of working for him and with him.
What I was going to say is I believe that things turn out and things happen the way they are supposed to. Doesn't always feel good. But
And I didn't give him anything today, but he
Yes.
got my Astros signed baseball.
Oh, man.
But thank you.
All right, Sean, I'll finish it off by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone has already said more than enough. I know you're over there cringing in your boots right now because you're ready to be done with this part. But thank you for all the late night phone calls, the crazy questions, the times when I just felt like maybe I was bothering you too much and you never were hesitant. So I appreciate you. God bless. Now we have a reason to come visit near Waco and visit the silos or whatever, Chip and Joanna Gaines. And so God bless you. Good luck. And we will be visiting Woodway. Okay, at this time, we will move on to adjourn to close executive session. 12A, deliberation with city attorney pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Deliberation with legal counsel regarding personnel matters as authorized by subsection 551.074 regarding the interim city manager position. At this time, let me see 1 second. I'm sorry, hold on. At this time, if you're not a part of council or staff, you may